So second question to the audience would then be, we will then ask, why is valuation of impact important? Again, there will be a breakout session before the different groups will be reconvened in plenary to share your perception on the value and the relative importance. So at the same time, it's important to recognize limitations and traps in valuing impact, the idea of false precision. If there is a limited visibility to the underlying assumptions that underpin valuation, if stakeholders' voices are not included, and so on and so on. You have here, as you can see on the slide, the so-called social value international principle number 3, that value the things that matter, mentions that making decisions about allocating resources between different options require an explicit recognition of the relative value or worth of different changes or outcomes that people experience as a result of activities. Value refers to the relative importance of different outcomes and is subjective in nature. Therefore, it needs to be informed by stakeholders' preferences. So how do we get these values? You get them by asking people how important the outcomes are on a scale from 1 to 10. Ask people which is the least important, and then you assign this a value of 1. And then you ask how many more times important are the other outcomes. Where outcomes are negative, the question is, how important is avoiding the negative outcome compared to getting the positive outcomes? And from the data in the table on the slide, do we know how to optimize? Which of the impact A, B, or C do we allocate more resources to? So then we allow the participants attending the training to again take a small pause to think about that, and then they will come up with questions, and then we'll discuss the questions in plenary. Okay, so what are we trying to achieve? The SDG impact standards require measurement that is useful for decision making. We all recognize that it's never going to be perfect, but as you also know, absolute truth and accuracy doesn't exist and will never be possible. And also it includes negative as well as positive impact, as I just mentioned before. So it is not limited just to measuring progress towards your positive goals. It's also about how do you diminish your negative impact. And based on meaningful stakeholder engagement is really very important. So it should amplify the voices of the people who experience the impact all along the value chain, from, if you're in the agribusiness, so we say all the way from the farm to the fork. So external reporting is important, but insufficient on its own, because it's more backward looking than forward looking. It tends to drive more compliance form over substance response. It tends to focus on risk more than opportunities. And it's not fast enough to drive change at the pace that we need. And hence, integrating impact data into how your organization, you make your decision, is also important and actually precedes reporting. That's one of the key messages that I would like you to take with you after today's introduction.